Hello and welcome to my watch reviews. Well, here we go. We've got two more St. Martins in front of us. One is their own design. Another one is, well, kind of a homage, I would surmise. Both are very interesting. Both look like chronograph watches. However, the one on the left is a chronograph. The one on the right is more a calendar watch. Now, I'm going to review each of these individually and then sum it up at the end of the video. So there will be a chapter put in this, so if you want to watch one part or the other, then obviously you can quick flick to those. Now I'm going to start with probably my favourite out of the two, which is the one on the left. Okay, so here we go. Let's start with this one. It has the most catchy name of all St. Martins. This is model number SN0026-G-JS. Now, what can I say about it at first glance? Really interesting. I love this case design. Now, this is not the first time St. Martin have used this case. I reviewed one a very long time ago, and they've also sent me a different one as well. But this is the first time I've seen a chronograph being put inside it. I believe this case is their own design as well, and I absolutely love it. I do like a bit more of an unusual. It is a squarish type of watch, but don't let that fool you. It's been finished really well, lots of different angles. You've also got this lovely looking Panda dial, which is very reminiscent of a Daytona style. So let's get into it. Let's have a closer look at that dial. Now, I need to point out the obvious first of all, in case you've not already noticed. You have a sub-dial at 6 there. That is the seconds, and it is a quartz movement. This is the Seiko VK63. But just look at that dial. Isn't that absolutely wonderful? I do like 3 sub-dials. I do find on these Seiko Mecha Quartz that the one bit I don't like is the one on the right, the 24-hour hour indicator, if you like. And I don't know, unless you're living in areas of the world that have 6 months of daylight, 6 months of darkness, I think most of us can judge when it is the morning and when it is the night. But there it is. As you can also see, it is a 60-minute chronograph. Here we have the chronograph running, so you can see what a Mecha Quartz is, in case you don't know. It basically means it's a quartz watch, so you get all the accuracy and reliability of a quartz, but also with when the chronograph is running, that is a smooth sweep seconds hand there, which is all very attractive, makes it kind of appear like it's a mechanical. If you look at the dial itself, so the dial is white. They class it as a white colour, but when I look at it, it's more sort of like a metallic white, and it's almost very slightly textured, which again I think is really, really exquisite. What I also like about the sub-dials is you've got the centric circles on each dial, giving a bit of texture and a bit of contrast. So they have thought it out very well. Some very basic baton indices, completely filled with lume. A very tiny one down there at 6 o'clock, and the 12 in bragging rights at the top. You've also got the St. Martin embossed logo. It's on the dial there. Tachymeter. And I also, again, like that little red accent just at the end of that running seconds hand. And to complete the dial, here is the lume shot. Now this is BGW9, and what you're looking at is a time lapse over 20 minutes. It burns bright, clear. I kind of do like those little tiny squares that they've used at 12, 3, 6 and 9. But yeah, you can quite easily tell the time. It's a shame there's nothing on the running seconds hand, but then realistically, would you be timing anything in pitch black darkness? I think not. Lume is always good on St. Martins, not as good as other watches like Phoebus, but perfectly adequate and will be good enough for what you need it for. Now then, I accept that this watch isn't going to be for everybody. Not everyone likes a kind of square case, but let's just quickly go through the dimensions. The diameter, if you call it a diameter, is 39.8 is what I'm getting on my vernier. 20mm lug width. It's 47 lug to lug, but more like 50 with the way that the end links work on it, and the thickness is lovely. It's 11.5, so quite thin considering its stature. So to give you a perspective of those dimensions, here it is on my 7-inch or 18cm wrist. I think it's perfect size. It's not too bad at all. It looks a little bit bigger, perhaps because of that squareness, but I think you've got to see it in the real really to appreciate it. I really do like this case design, so let's have a closer look at that. Now, I know many watch reviewers on YouTube rave about San Martin's case finishing, and I have to here because you've got so many different things going on. Just look at that bezel, for instance. You've got those 4 screws that are all lined up. I'm not really sure they're proper screws, to be honest with you, but that whole bezel is either pressed on or screwed on. You've got lovely linear brushing on the top, beautiful polishing on the outside, and then on the top step it's brushed again. You can also see around those lugs it's brushed, and there's facets all over it. Now let's have a look at it from the side. Now I know it does look a little bit weird the way it's sticking up, but it's just the way the bracelet and the end links are working. But you can see that's absolutely lovely brushing, nice and clean to that side. You can also see how the lugs drop down. Now I really like these rectangular pushers. They're high polished and they just operate a lot nicer than round pushers for some bizarre reason, but of course they also suit the case design as well. Look at the crystal. Crystal is sapphire and it's absolutely pan flat there. It's also supposed to have some AR coating on it too. If we then turn our attention to the crown, yes, you've got the embossed logo at the end. The crown is hexagonal, which is a nice design element, and I have seen that also on the other models of this case design. However, it's not the easiest to operate. I think a knurled crown is so much better, whereas this feels actually a little bit uncomfortable, to be honest. So a possible negative there, but it does go in line with the design. Flip the watch over, you've got the usual now San Martin sterile case back. Very good graining on it, and it's also got a polished outer rim, as you can see. The screws are proper screws, very reminiscent of the ones on the bezel as well. Interesting that it has a screwed case back like that. This is only offering 100 meter of water resistance. It has got a screw down crown and a screwed case back, so I'm guessing that's where you're only getting the 100 meters from. Take the case back off and you're greeted with this, the Seiko VK63 Mecha Quartz movement. All terribly uninteresting, no moving parts that you can see visually, but there you go, that's what it looks like. And the last feature, of course, is the bracelet. Here you can see the end links, which are solid, brushed down the outers, polished on the inside. The bracelet's nicely made, very well finished. You can also see there's a polished chamfer running down the outer edges as well, but it comes down to this, which of course is a butterfly clasp, and I don't think a butterfly clasp is right on a big heavy watch like this, because there's no micro links and getting it to the right size is very difficult indeed. It always seems like San Martin get nearly everything right, and there's always one downside, and on this watch that is the downside. I've managed to get it to size me right at the moment. When the weather changes and it gets a little bit warmer, I'm going to be a bit stuck, because that watch is going to get either too tight or it's then going to be too loose if I add an extra link. So that's really my only main negative, other than the hexagonal crown. Now it's time to talk about the price, and here we are on AliExpress on San Martin's official store. Now today is August the 18th 2023 as I'm filming. There is the summer sale about to start in a few days time on the 21st of August. It runs for a week, so expect to see prices potentially drop. I've been told by San Martin that the prices you see on the website are the summer sale prices, but I am not too sure, because you can see here this says $238 US, which is just sub of £200. That is free shipping, but not including the tax that you might receive in your country. And at that price, I think you're getting a lot of watch for your money. However, should I sign into my account, all of a sudden the price has changed. So I'm now looking at $221, which again is going to be still sub 200 UK pounds. And at that price, I think this watch is a bargain, to be honest with you. $220. You're getting a lot of design. The case is really cool. I still can't quite live with the butterfly clasp. But yeah, it looks absolutely superb. Again, you've got to be into that case. I appreciate that some of you won't be. It's possibly why they've so far only sold 2, which I think is a real shame, because should you see this in the flesh, I think you'd appreciate it maybe a lot more than you've seen it in the video. So of course, if you want to pick this one up, there are going to be links below. It's not going to cost you any more, but it does give me a small finder's fee, and that really does help right now as I'm trying to develop and grow this channel. So that's the end of watch number 1. Let's now pay attention to watch number 2. And here it is out in the daylight in all of its glorious splendour. And I think we know where that design comes from, don't we? A particular type of crustacean, maybe. A nautilus. I do think that San Martin have got the photocopier out and pretty much textbook this one. They're going to get 0 points for design. But that particular design they're homaging is pretty much iconic. I absolutely love the original ones. I just do not have and will never have that kind of money to spend on a watch. And I think if I had that sort of money, I wouldn't spend it on a watch anyway. I thought I was going to like this one when it turned up because of the iconic design. But there's a few things that I'm not too impressed with, and we'll get into those a little bit later on. But for now, it's all again about the design and the dial on this one. So let's get a closer look at that. So feast your eyes on that dial, because there's a heck of a lot to take in. Now this is the green dial, as you can see. It's a sort of dark green. There's a blue one as well, which I think is the pick of the bunch, and then they've made it in the Tiffany blue, which is a massive no for me. I don't think it works at all on a watch like this. You'll see that it has a quite interesting textured pattern, again pretty much copied from you know who, but it's done very well. I do kind of like that texture to it, but it's all about those subdials. Now, you know, when I first saw the render to one of these, I thought it was a chronograph. Then you look closer and you realize it's just a date watch, but it's a date watch that's doing all of this on an automatic movement. So you not only got the date, the day, you've also got the month, and then you've also got that fairly useless dial down at 6 o'clock, which again is telling you what part of the day you're on in the 24-hour clock. And of course it's a calendar watch, so you have that date window which has been sandwiched in between the 4 and 5 o'clock. I guess that's the only place you can put it. It's nice and visible though, very clear to see. So yes, that's working quite well. Turn our attention to the indices, where they're a lozenge shape. They're all filled with loom, of course, which we'll see the loom chopped very, very shortly. I do like, actually, however, you've got these tiny little batons at the 3, 6 and 9, just to, I guess it's going to add the loom so you could see it at night. Equally, you've got matching hour and minute hands that are the same sort of lozenge shape, but there is a distinct absence of any loom or colour on that second hand, which is perhaps a little disappointing. Quick burst of the UV pen to charge it up, and that's what you get. BGW9. It's burning brightly enough, but you can clearly see the absence of loom on the second hand is a little bit frustrating. I'd like to see that going round. Also, those little blebs at 3, 6 and 9 are almost laughable, but I guess it still makes it legible. It fades to this colour after about 20 minutes and stays there, and it'll be sufficient. It's not superb, but good enough. Now this is a big, heavy watch. I'll get in the dimensions in a moment. It is 173 grams though, and look at it. It's got different angles. There's smooth surfaces, there's facets, there's sharp edges. It's got everything, high polished, brushed. There's a heck of a lot going on. From a machining point of view, I can tell you that is no mean feat. And here you can see from the side profile what I'm talking about. There's some angular facets near the lugs, and then you've got that rounded crown guard, and then the bezel itself, which is kind of rounded off, sharp edges. It's hard to describe what that shape is. It's polished and brushed, all done exceptionally well, but to my liking it is just that little bit too busy, too big and too heavy. But in San Martin's defense, look at the finish. It's really good. That graining is absolutely spot on, and contrasting the polished edges and the polished center links of that bracelet. Which leads me on to the complaint: you can't change this to a strap. It's all sort of integrated, so that center link is your lug width. Now San Martin do a rubber strap that you can buy for this watch, but you'd have to buy theirs because it's the only one that's going to fit, and that to me is a definite negative. And here's a side profile shot, and you can see all the different finishes. I kind of like the way they've shortened the lugs, so they've got them dropping out as well, and that's to just try and keep the size down, otherwise this watch would be gargantuan. The typical sign crown that you can see there, despite the crown guard, it is easily operational, and you might be wondering what that is on the right hand side, and that is actually a button to quick set one of the date functions, which I'll show later on. And turn the watch over and we get that sterile case back, but look at the graining on that. That's beautifully done, high polished edge to it, and this one is held down by 4 screws again, which is quite interesting to see. It's quite a nice feature. So what is lurking underneath the case back? That's the thing you want to know about. And here it is. It's a Miyota 9120, a multifunctional movement. It's why they've picked it, I guess, to give all the different date indications. It is a high beat at 28,800 vibrations per hour, 40 hours of power reserve, 26 joules as well. So a decent spec Miyota movement. Due to the thickness of the case and the case back, you don't really hear that rotor rattling around all that much. Here you can see the finishing on the bracelet, which I think is absolutely fabulous, to be honest with you. Screw pins for adjustment. However, this one's got another butterfly clasp, so it's not going to fit everybody easily. Right, sizing. This one comes in at a whopping 43mm in diameter, if you can call it diameter, from those fat sides. With the crown, that's more like 44.5. Lug to lug, due to the way the end links are, is 50mm. Lug width is 13mm, and the thickness is 12mm. So a big watch, big proportions. Let's stick it on my reasonably sized wrist. So the bracelet's beautifully sparkly, very nicely made. Just a shame about that butterfly clasp. And there you go. It sits quite big, I think, on my wrist. I'm not used to this kind of size and weight. But there you go. That's what it looks like. 7-inch wrist, 18 centimeters. Here we are on the time grapher, and you can't get a better reading than that. This is speeded up ever so slightly. But yes, that is absolutely perfection. Out the packet, I haven't touched it at all. So yeah, that's really good. But let's test it. We'll put it in pendant up. You do see it drop here. Now it is at 11 seconds. It does change over this short time span. I'm sure if I left this on for a few minutes, it would get a bit better. But we put it then at crown down, and we're back to perfect time. And the same is going to be said when we go to dial down. This watch has been either regulated well, or it's just a fluke out of the Miyota factory, because those readings are absolutely excellent. So to set all the sub dials, first of all, take the crown to the first position. If we go clockwise, you can see that the date down here is changing. Anti-clockwise, hopefully you can see it up here. We can change the day. Nice and straightforward. Obviously the 24-hour, I always find these things pretty useless. If you need to know whether in morning or night, well, there's something seriously wrong, isn't there? Unless I suppose you're living in the Arctic Circle where it's daylight all day. That could be a problem. So to set the month, there is a little side indentation. You can use the San Martin tool provided. And if we push that in, I think we've got to have it the setting mode out, I think. There you go. Can you see that moving? It's bad light reflection in here, but we're now up to December, look. Every time you push it in, it's obviously moving on an extra month. So there we go. That's how you set all those subdials. And that brings us on to the price. And a bit like the first model I've shown, I'm just on a page out of my account. And as of today, it is $375 US, which is about 308 UK pounds. I think that's very expensive for this watch personally. Just showing you the other colours and the other options here. Look, there's the Tiffany blue. I don't think that works. And their straps that they're selling as well, which, I don't know, just make it look very garish to me. If we then go to my account that we're signed in at now, we can see here that, well, it's 373, so not the reduction we got on the first one. However, it is giving us the sale countdown at $314. There's a heck of a lot of money coming off this one, but at $314, personally, you've got to like this one. Let's face it, you've got to like it. People do. It sold 72, so it sold 70 more than the first watch in this review. Yeah, I think the first watch is the better one, but clearly, what do I know? People like these homage watches and they want the look and feel of this one, so why not? There you go. The only thing I did miss out saying, it has got sapphire crystal and it has got 100 meters of water resistance. So if this one floats your boat, then of course there's going to be a link down below. Get it in your basket while the sale price is up, and that way you'll be able to get it for that price. So let's put the two together and quickly sum up the video. So there you go, two slightly more unconventional watches, certainly in their shape and appearance. You tell me which one your favourite is, which one you'd consider getting. You clearly know that my preference is going to be all day long the one on the left, but I'll be interested to know if any of you concur with me on that. There you go. Like, subscribe, leave your comments below. I read all the comments and I generally try to reply to as many as I can. So I'll be interested to hear your opinion on these two San Martins. So that's it for now. I will see you in the next review very soon. Thank you and goodbye.